Breaking. In a move no British monarch has made in 88 years, King Charles has thrown Westminster into chaos, and the Prime Minister's career hangs by a thread. 3 days ago, inside the hallowed walls of Windsor Castle, the King held a secret 2-hour meeting with Nigel Farage. No cameras, no photo ops, no staged handshake. Just a closed-door strategy session that defies centuries of royal neutrality. According to Palace insiders, the meeting was triggered by Farage's newly published Restoring Britain's Democratic Foundation, a report warning of parliamentary overreach and institutional erosion. King Charles reportedly read it and made one astonishing declaration. Perhaps it's time for fresh thinking in Westminster. The current path seems unsustainable. 12 words. That was all it took to ignite a firestorm that could reshape British politics forever. The secrecy surrounding the session was shattered within 48 hours. Surprisingly, the leak didn't come from Farage or Reform UK. They had every reason to remain silent. Instead, Palace sources suggest Labour MPs, furious at being outmanoeuvred, may have been behind it. The story broke first in The Times, then swept across every major outlet. BBC, Sky News, The Guardian, The Daily Mail, front page headlines, live segments, breaking news banners. Every corner of Britain was watching. Downing Street was thrown into panic. Witnesses report Prime Minister Keir Starmer pacing the room at an emergency cabinet meeting, papers slamming onto tables, fury etched across his face. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner described him as a man possessed. Then came the moment that might seal Starmer's fate. Sources claim he smashed his fist on the cabinet table, shouting, "If Charles wants to play politics, I'll show him how the game is really played." The room reportedly fell silent. Cabinet ministers exchanged horrified glances. Starmer continued, openly deriding 30 years of constitutional tradition as just old men in fancy clothes playing dress-up. He claimed this was 2025, not 1725, and vowed to fight back. No sitting Prime Minister in modern history has ever spoken about the monarch with such open contempt. Within hours, Starmer's words leaked. Social media erupted worldwide. Pro-monarchy accounts spread clips showing Starmer in historical caricatures as Oliver Cromwell, under a guillotine, ripping up the Union Jack. Even traditional Labour voters were shocked. Margaret Thompson, 68, a retired teacher from Liverpool, posted a viral TikTok. "I've supported Labour through Thatcher, through Blair, but attacking our king, that's not Britain." Her clip garnered 2.3 million views in 24 hours, capturing the sentiment of millions who suddenly questioned their loyalties. Within hours of Starmer's incendiary outburst, Britain's streets erupted. Social media exploded with hashtags like Defend the King and Starmer Out, trending globally. Videos of outraged citizens, lifelong Labour voters and pro-monarchy activists flooded every platform. The narrative was clear. Attacking the Crown is not politics, it's betrayal. Across the country, spontaneous protests took shape. In Liverpool, Manchester, Newcastle and Birmingham, thousands marched, waving Union Jacks, chanting, "God save the King, Starmer out." London's Downing Street was surrounded by over 12,000 demonstrators by evening. Streets were alive with anger and solidarity, a raw mixture of civic pride and outrage. Meanwhile, Labour's internal machinery was collapsing. Senior cabinet ministers were reportedly whispering behind closed doors about a no-confidence vote. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner allegedly stormed out of an emergency meeting, screaming at Starmer, "You've destroyed us, you're dragging all of us down." Junior ministers began resigning within hours, citing loss of confidence. Chancellor Rachel Reeves, one of Starmer's closest allies, avoided TV appearances entirely. WhatsApp groups like Operation Reset were buzzing with strategising and plotting leadership transitions. Names for potential successors, Angela Rayner, Rachel Reeves, even Ed Miliband, were circulating quietly in the corridors of power. The economic fallout was immediate. Within 90 minutes of the scandal hitting social media, the pound sterling plummeted 2.3% against the dollar, wiping $4.7 billion from the FTSE 100. Traders described it not as an economic event, but a political earthquake. Britain's stability itself was under scrutiny. International reactions poured in. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau praised the monarchy's role in parliamentary democracy. In Australia, Peter Dutton called Starmer's behaviour reckless and dangerous. Even former President Trump weighed in, tweeting, "King Charles showing real leadership. Starmer looks weak. Britain deserves better." Polling data confirmed the catastrophic shift. A YouGov emergency poll conducted just 18 hours after the story broke revealed 73% of Britons believed Starmer went too far. Labour's approval rating crashed from 42% to 28% in a single day. In traditional Labour strongholds like Liverpool and Manchester, support collapsed by double digits. Voters over 55, typically reliable Labour supporters, now backed Starmer at a mere 19%, while women over 40 dropped to 22%. Meanwhile, King Charles remained silent, his dignity and restraint contrasting sharply with Starmer's fury. Constitutional experts praised the monarch's strategy. Professor Sarah Matthews of Oxford stated, "The monarchy survives by staying above politics. By saying nothing, he leaves the Prime Minister twisting in the wind." Every hour of silence amplified Starmer's perceived recklessness. Labour's internal crisis deepened, cabinet factions plotted in secret, and political commentators described the week as the defining crisis of modern British politics. As Labour crumbled under public fury and internal rebellion, Nigel Farage and Reform UK moved with surgical precision. The political vacuum created by Starmer's reckless attacks on the monarchy was an unprecedented opportunity, and Farage knew it. Within hours, Reform UK's headquarters became the epicentre of a national political surge. At 6:15 p.m, Farage delivered a speech outside Parliament that would be watched by millions online. Flanked by Union Jacks, he declared, "Some politicians think Britain's traditions are outdated relics to be discarded. We believe those traditions are the very foundation of who we are as a nation." The crowd erupted into applause that lasted nearly a full minute. Social media clips of his speech went viral within hours. Membership applications skyrocketed 400%. Donations poured in from thousands of small contributors. And former Labour voters, disillusioned by Starmer's attacks, flocked to the party. For Farage, this wasn't just a political win. It was the transformation of Reform UK from fringe insurgents into national contenders. Meanwhile, Conservatives, still recovering from years of internal division, found themselves unexpectedly strengthened. Opposition leader Cami Badnour struck a careful balance. She didn't overreach or gloat, but her statement cut deep. The Prime Minister has shown complete disrespect for our constitutional monarchy and for the millions of Britons who hold it dear. This isn't political disagreement. This is an attack on the foundations of our democracy. The optics were devastating for Labour. The narrative had shifted. Labour was the party attacking tradition, Reform UK the party defending Britain's identity, and the Conservatives positioned as the steady, cautious alternative. International attention intensified. Canadian PM Justin Trudeau reaffirmed respect for constitutional monarchy. Australian media called Starmer reckless. American news anchors replayed his controversial speeches with incredulity, emphasising Britain's sudden slide into political chaos. In just 72 hours, Labour went from governing party to a near pariah in the eyes of voters. Polling data illustrated the dramatic shift. Labour had fallen to 26%, Reform UK surged to 24%, and the Conservatives maintained 32%. In traditional Labour heartlands, Reform UK was now polling within striking distance. Hartley at 34%, Stoke-on-Trent at 31%, Rotherham at 29%. For the first time in British political history, a party founded less than a decade ago was poised to become the official opposition. Inside Labour HQ, panic reached fever pitch. WhatsApp groups named Damage Control swelled to over 40 MPs. Ministers debated whether to defend Starmer, distance themselves, or remove him entirely. Senior figures whispered privately, "He's finished." Resignations continued. Transport Secretary Louise Hay, 2 junior ministers and even members of Starmer's inner circle quietly exited. Through it all, King Charles remained silent, the calm eye in the storm. Each hour of inaction by the monarchy amplified Starmer's chaos, reminding the nation why the crown endures. By the end of the week, it was impossible to overstate the damage to Starmer and the Labour Party. What began as political arrogance had metastasised into a full-blown constitutional crisis. Cabinet ministers openly discussed votes of no confidence, junior officials resigned, and backbench MPs circulated whispers of leadership challenges. Starmer's once loyal team had fractured completely, leaving him increasingly isolated. Meanwhile, King Charles remained untouched by the chaos, projecting the calm and dignity that had defined his reign. His silence continued to speak volumes. Every day that he did not comment, every measured appearance at charity events or public functions magnified Starmer's desperation. Political analysts repeatedly described it as the art of invisible dominance. The crown did not need speeches, protests, or declarations. Its authority was inherent, historic and unassailable. Across the nation, public sentiment hardened sharply against Starmer. Lifelong Labour voters who had quietly endured economic struggles, pension cuts and rising inflation now reconsidered their allegiance. In Liverpool, Manchester, Newcastle and Birmingham, spontaneous protests erupted, with citizens chanting in support of the monarchy. Social media campaigns amplified the narrative. Defend the King went viral, while Starmer's attacks were replayed endlessly, painting him as reckless, arrogant and disconnected from the country he was supposed to lead. Reform UK seized the moment with surgical precision. Nigel Farage's speeches framed the crisis as a choice between tradition, stability and identity versus political recklessness. Donations and membership applications surged, with thousands of former Labour supporters switching allegiances almost overnight. Polls reflected the seismic shift. Labour plummeted to its lowest point in decades. Reform UK surged to historic highs, and even the Conservatives regained unexpected leverage in the opposition landscape. The international reaction underscored the crisis's gravity. Allies in Canada, Australia and the United States expressed diplomatic concern or admiration for the monarchy's restraint. Analysts observed that Britain, once seen as a model of constitutional stability, was now scrutinised worldwide as a nation whose institutions had been tested and found fragile. Starmer's public contempt for the crown, juxtaposed with Charles's silent authority, became a case study in political overreach and misjudged ambition. Inside Westminster, Starmer's position became untenable. Leadership rumours swirled, emergency contingency plans were drafted, and civil servants quietly warned of instability if the Prime Minister continued down his path. For all the chaos he created, Starmer had failed to break the monarchy. Instead, he had revealed its enduring power, its capacity to sway public sentiment, and the timeless authority that comes from patience and restraint. In the end, the lesson was clear. Political rage cannot overcome historical legitimacy. King Charles did not need to act aggressively. His calm, measured presence, combined with centuries of constitutional precedent, reshaped the political landscape without uttering more than a handful of words. Labour, divided and humiliated, struggled to maintain relevance. Reform UK, buoyed by public support, surged forward as a serious contender. And the monarchy, once dismissed by some as symbolic, demonstrated its unbroken influence and authority, proving that even in 2025, the crown remains a central pillar of Britain's identity and stability. The constitutional earthquake had passed, but the aftershocks were far from over. Starmer's political career hung by a thread. The Labour Party faced an existential crisis, and Britain's political order had been reminded with unprecedented clarity that tradition, respect and measured authority still hold extraordinary power in the modern world.